Welcome, Wrestle Buddies, to our weekly podcast. I am your host, Andy, and I'm joined today by my buddy is back. The bastard is back. Welcome back, Zane. How we doing?
Yeah, that's a great welcome. I'm doing fine, Andy. How are you doing?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Bit of a strange week in wrestling this week, innit? It's started off very quiet and nothing happened, and then obviously news. We had the Gargano and O'Reily situation with them leaving NXT, and then obviously out of somewhere from left side, Jeff Hardy ended up going, didn't he?
Yeah, what a week. At least we don't have to cover news like Roman Reigns possibly leaving WWE. At least we have something solid to cover this week.
Well, I think the best place to start off is with Jeff Hardy now. Jeff Hardy was released by WWE following an incident at a live event over the weekend. I don't know whether you've seen the video of it saying, yes, here he is.
Yeah, we can see everything. Jimmy, don't worry.
Yeah. So, yeah, Jeff Hardy got released. Jimmy, thanks for joining us, mate. How we doing?
Good, man. Good. Sorry, I'm a little late.
No problem. Look who I found when I dragged him from outside. It's back.
Desperate. It's back. The desperate times call for desperate measures.
No, there is no podcast without Zane. There is no podcast without you, mate.
Well, there was one last week.
Yeah. Well, I should say there's no bad podcast without you, but yeah.
I think we had a visitor last week too that was came in strictly for Zayn, and I guess they were disappointed when he wasn't here.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. He came in, dropped a little bit of knowledge on us, and then we had to boot him.
Yeah. So he basically come in and just told us we were gay and then got off again.
Oh. Here was actually thinking that I have a fan.
Oh God. Right, guys. So yeah, we'll talk about the Jeff Hardy situation. So Jeff was released after he got at a live show. He become a bit more. Something happens with him at the live show. I don't know whether you've seen the video. He kind of walks off through the crowd, and apparently, from what is being said, Jeff was offered some kind of
Sorry.
Why are you laughing, Zane? Why are you laughing? You know, we're talking about a man that was offered rehab and stuff like that. You know,
I'm looking at Jimmy. I'm not laughing at Jeff Hardy.
Just for everybody who's actually watching us here, you can see exactly what Zane is now. He's laughing at a man who got released from his job, has to go to rehab because he's got, you know, a few problems, which all of us at WrestleBuddy, no matter what Zane says, all of us at WrestleBuddy, no matter how much Zane laughs, we wish Jeff Hardy all the best.
I also wish Jeff Hardy all the best.
He says that after laughing at him. But Jimmy, what's your thoughts on that situation, mate?
Man, the interesting thing about it is his wife, she tweeted out that, you know, he's fine, they're fine. You can tell everybody you heard that. So I'm just interested in what else there is to this story that we don't know.
Yeah.
I know we've been given the information from a very reputable source that, you know, he was offered the help and he turned it down and they had to do what they had to do. I don't fault them at all if that's definitely the scenario, but I'm kind of holding off till I get more information on it. Maybe from the source himself.
Yeah, that's it. And what's your thoughts, Zane, when you stop laughing?
Yeah. Well, why are you going to do that? Just to clarify, I'm not laughing at Jeff Hardy's situation. I'd never laugh at a situation like that. I was laughing at the fact that Jimmy's biggest flag fell off. Now, onto the matter. Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. That's what I missed last week. I was wondering why I was feeling incomplete. Anyways, obviously it's hard, and Jeff Hardy, he's had his struggles. He's been battling his demons for a while now, and it's truly awful to see someone like him, such a talent, go through this much. And I definitely wish him all the best. And to everyone online who's speculating about his personal situation, who's commenting on it, just shut the fuck up. Like, it's not your matter. It's a matter between him It's his decision. Let the man, give the man some space. He definitely needs some space. So I wish him all the best. I hope he gets out of this well. I hope he gets out of this as well.
Yeah, yeah. And, another thing that I'd say on this one as well is with, Jeff being released and they keep going to this drug problem and stuff like that. No one's even said it was drugs. He could have just been out on, because he's being out on the dark shows and he might have just had a couple of drinks and gone a bit too far with it. But also, do you think, the Hardy Boys are known for being very, very clever guys, both of them. Do you not think, Jimmy, they might have turned around and done it on purpose to force his release?
I've been seeing a few people speculate that. I refuse to buy into that narrative. I feel like it's just really, that'd be shitty behavior in my opinion. That's me. But when Jeff was on Stone Cold's podcast, he flat out said, like, I'm not the business guy. I don't know how to handle this stuff. I show up, I do my job. That's kind of his thing. Matt's always been the mastermind behind stuff like that. Is it possible? Of course, it's possible. The scenario's there, but I just want to not believe it because it's just so just sketchy. if that's what he did, like that's crazy.
I hear what you mean. And what do you think? What do we think's next for Jeff?
I think he needs to take a long bit of time off. A scenario to look at is, they did the pandemic era for, a good year, where the travel wasn't there. It was very easy. And then the road life transitioning back into that could have been hard on him. And maybe he wasn't ready because the rumor was that him and Roman were about to have a program and people were waiting for it. And maybe that pressure on top of the going back on the road is just kind of building up on him. Can he perform at that? Can he perform at a level that's acceptable at that main event level anymore? And there's things that you can look at besides I found a loophole.
And do you not think, like, saying that because creatively, we heard talk that the Willow character was going to come back. We've also heard talk that he might have been in a program with Roman, but obviously no one's ever confirmed that to us as well. Do you think that maybe it's a bit that he could have got bored with, just because, let's face it, he hasn't really been in anything substantial for a long while. He's being used as a bit part character here and there on TV, and obviously he's just been in match after match on the house shows. Do you not think he could have been fed up and this is what's drove him to kind of go relapse?
You know what? I'm really not going to comment on what drove him to relapse or why he was there in the first place or what his motivations were. Because I'm going to be very candid with you. I don't feel comfortable because it's something that it's his situation, something he was struggling with. I really don't know what he was going through or what led to that or what led to those, even if there were frustrations present.
And the thing is, the one thing that there might not have been a relapse here. It might have just been that he was just emotionally and mentally tired. As I've just mentioned there, he hasn't been used properly for a long while. His brothers left the company. He was made to stay in the company because he had more time left on his deal than what Matt did because they froze his contract. He could have just been mentally tired, could he not, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very possible. And like I said, the going back on the road on top of that, that's a lot of stuff piling up on you. Another thing worth noting is the turning, if he did, because again, we don't really know his situation. And whatever the situation is, I hope at the end of it, he comes out okay, better. If he's not okay, and if he is okay, then all the speculation sucks that he has to go through, and I'm sorry for him. Yeah. But Sean Waltman brought up a good point about he had a relapse at one point. His very last relapse he had, rehab wasn't an option for him. He didn't go to rehab, and it ended up being the best thing for him.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility that Jeff might have just felt like, hey, if that's the case, he might have been like, hey, it hasn't really been working for me in the past. Maybe I just need to step back, do my own thing, get better on my own, and go my own path. And if we know anything about Jeff, he is a man that's going to go his own path, whatever the scenario is.
Yeah, he's a very creative guy, and obviously everyone at WrestleBuddy all wish him nothing but the best of luck. So we had two real staples of NXT leave this week in Gargano, or potentially leave. We don't know what's going to happen in the future with them. Especially, I think Gargano's probably one. But we'll look at Kyle O'Reilly first, and Zane, if I was Tony Khan, I'd be rubbing my hands together thinking, "Whoa, 30 days can't come quick enough." What would you think about O'Reilly?
I think they've been building it. They Ever since the news got out that Kyle O'Reilly his contract's going to expire soon, they've been building that undisputed era kind of reunion in AEW. And even though Kyle could say all he wants that his future wasn't certain, I think Tony Khan knew that his in Tony Khan's mind and in Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and even in Kyle O'Reilly's mind, they knew he was heading to AEW because they've been building this whole thing. They've been building this kind of divide, and it's because here's the thing. As of now, AEW doesn't have a good story apart from Hangman Danielson and MJF Punk. I don't think there's any other story in AEW that's worth watching. So if Undisputed Era gets reunited, it could get light another fire in the mid card division of AEW. And
Mm.
apart from the main event matches, then you have a banger of a few present there. And again, Kyle O'Reilly, exceptional talent. I feel bad for him after his face turn because he never really seemed to click that well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think he can work extremely well. And I don't think is there a 30-day non-compete clause or because his contract expires? I don't think you have to wait 30 days.
Show up at
I
Winners
think
Coming.
yeah, he can show up whenever he wants now because
Interesting.
his contract expired. He wasn't released.
Yeah, apparently it ended last night at midnight, so he
Yeah.
could show up anywhere today
Interesting.
if he wanted.
Interesting. And Jimmy, just on your thoughts, obviously, you one of the biggest undisputed era fans that's out there. AEW, what would you call them?
The not disputed era. Or the Young Buck Killers. I'll go with the Young Buck Killers as well.
The golden era. The golden era could work.
There's things. But yeah, like Zane said, it's pretty obvious they've been building towards that because they brought Bobby Fish in. He was just kind of a guy that was there, and then all of a sudden they turned him heel like that. And it was like, why? And then next thing you know, he's paired up with the Bucks and Cole, and they got a snare going on there. There's the friction between Omega and Cole. So they're clearly building towards it. And there's literally no reason for Kyle to go back. I've said it because they gave an opportunity, and then victim of time is what he suffered from. Yes, he was supposed to be the next guy, and they decided to change everything up, and now he's just lost in the shuffle. So good for him that his contract ended when it did, so that he could get out of there, and that he can go and do what he wants instead of having to wait that 30, 90 days, whatever it would have been for him. And I look forward to seeing how they incorporate the Undisputed Era in AEW.
Yeah. And they could be potentially the first trios group on there to win the trios championship. I know that they've been looking on doing that in AEW for a while, and everyone thought it was always going to be the Young Bucks and Cole, but it could actually be the Undisputed Era, which would be quite cool. The only thing I'd say is, after this one, do you feel like Tony Khan's got to shut up shop for a while now?
No. I don't think he's going to learn his lesson until it's if it ends up being too late. I think he's like, I got a bag full of money and I'm going to keep spending it however I need to get to where I need to, where I feel like I need to be. He even said like this year, next year, he's still got a few a few tricks up his sleeve. So I don't see him slowing up.
What do you think is the reason that he needs to keep bringing in talent? Do you not think by doing that he's going to drop into the same kind of, trap that WCW done?
Yes. I personally have been saying that since after the Brian Danielson Cole debuts.
Yeah.
At what point do you not have the room anymore? But I think he does it because if you think about the products, AEW has lost a lot of steam this past few months. Would you both agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what have they not been doing? Debuts. they kind of I don't know. They've made the fans believe like that's what we are doing. That's what you can expect. And then when they don't get it, it's like, okay, well, impress us with your show. And then that's when I think some of the glaring problems that AEW has present themselves, because instead of that pop that they're chasing, they have to be like, look at our product. And then it's like, okay, well, that's not good. That's not good. And you've seen, and the ratings I know aren't a thing, but they focus on them, and they have to be at least a little bit, I don't want to say worried, but at least disappointed in the fact that they were above 1 million for like 4 weeks, and then now they've just continuously fallen down in between the 800 to 850,000 range.
Yeah. And do you think as well, like, I mean, I know you're always going to get that spike with Punk and whatever else, and they always expect it to go down and come back up again. Do you think, say, that AEW are stocking some talent, and with this whole no cancel of contract policy that he's got, it's going to come back to bite him in the ass?
Definitely. But here's the thing, like, when they get talent, they're not only getting talent, they're kind of popping the ratings. Because as Jimmy said, the debut is the thing that matters. Because let's be honest, how excited will you be about Kyle O'Reilly in AEW? Let's say hypothetically, Kyle O'Reilly
A
shows
lot.
up at Winter's Coming, right?
A lot.
You're gonna be excited as hell. But 5-6 months down the line, you'll be like, okay, well that's another guy on the roster.
I
And
would
that's
say that's the casual fan, and that's their problem, is they're not appeasing to casual fans. They're not trying to grow their audience.
No.
Because someone like me, I'm kind of, I don't want to say new to the AEW thing, but I'm watching it more now than I was previously, and I'm appreciating it a little bit more. I'm going to be excited about Kyle O'Reilly there long term, because he's a great talent and he can have great matches with people, and they'll be able to do good stories with him. But the casual fans are not going to care. They're going to be like, oh, that's the guy that was on NXT that I didn't even want to watch to begin with. They're not going to care.
No.
Didn't mean to cut you off there, Zane. But yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that I'll say as well.
Agree with you, because like.
Go on, Zane.
Yeah, I was just gonna finish off by saying that, like, you know what? My internet is shit. Why don't you take over, Andy?
So all I was going to do, I was just going to ask you, is obviously with AEW, you know, Jimmy, you've just hit it on the head. They're not appealing to casual fans. You know, the other thing that I don't think that they're doing is they're not sports entertainment fans as well. You know, they've got all these kinds of storylines, and you know, they're trying to appease. Oh, here's Bryan Danielson. He can have a great wrestling match. Oh, you know, they need to start being more entertainment in my eyes, a little bit more as well.
I feel like it's there. I feel like where they're doing it is misplaced, though.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. When I'm watching the Young Bucks match, why I'm watching to begin with, I don't know. But when I am watching it, they try to incorporate their entertainment into the middle of the match there, and that's kind of bad timing. They need to be incorporating it, you know, in between segments, in between matches, before, after matches. I feel like when you get the kind of wrestling they have, it sucks the viewer in because they're impressed by what they're seeing, and then they're taken back because they take a pause to do the whatever it is they're doing at the moment. And it's not just the Bucks. There's other people that do it. That's just the one I've noticed on the last episode. Go ahead.
Yeah, but here's my question. I have a question, if I can cut you off, Andy. Like, well, isn't the entertainment factor the thing that really attracts the fan that doesn't really watch wrestling? Because, for example, we have people who are just scrolling on TV on Monday nights, and they're like, "Oh, WWE is on," and they watch, and there will be some entertainment aspects in it, like some goofy shit that a non-wrestling fan can enjoy, and it doesn't have to be exclusive to wrestling fans to really get the art. But with AEW, it's very kind of exclusive in the sense that you have to be a wrestling fan to kind of really get immersed and really enjoy the full experience. So
Yeah,
where
yeah,
do they get those kind of fans from then?
yeah.
That,
Well,
that's
this is the
that's why I was
100%
saying
right.
incorporate it outside of the matches. That way, you're not just appeasing to the casuals. You're not pushing away the diehards. Because,
Yeah,
as I said, when you're watching the matches with people like the Bucks, Omega, like the really good wrestlers that are putting on these great performances, you don't want there to be just that part where it's like great wrestling, comedy bit, great wrestling. If you look back at like the arguably the best match in WWE this year was Seth Rollins versus Edge at Hell in a Cell.
yeah.
It was just a great match, and it was bell to bell. There was no applause in there where they were focusing on entertainment. They were focusing
No.
on the match.
No, but the thing is, Jim, and this is where for me the entertainment needs to come in more with AEW specifically, is the build up to the Seth Rollins and Edge match. They kind of built that, there was something in the line here. They don't like each other, and something that WWE do really well. But AEW, for instance, it's like at the moment because Bryan Danielson's feuding with the Hangman, it's like he's got to knock off a member of the Dark Order each week. There's no rhyme or reason, just put him in with one of them. Because he's playing Hangman. It's like the story depth's not there. It's like Jurassic Express and Vortice Blonde versus the Acclaims in 2.0. Why? Why did you put them together? Why? Make me care about... don't get me wrong, there can be good wrestling in that match, and I'll go, yeah, it's okay, not a bad wrestling match, but, why should I care about that match? Why do you want me to care about it?
To counter those two matches, I'll say the 8-man, I feel like AEW just feels the need to do 8-man tag matches every week. Whatever, I'm fine with it, because most of the time, they're entertaining enough to where I'm not going to complain. So with that, I don't feel like they need to build up each one of those. And then to defend the Bryan Danielson Dark Order thing a little bit, it seems that I think we all can agree that Mox was definitely the one that was supposed to go over in the tournament.
Yeah.
To take I think that was definitely the plan. And when situation happened, they have to change their plans.
Yeah.
And I don't think AEW has quite figured out how to do things on the fly like that.
No.
I think what they've done is serviceable, but as you said, it just kind of seems like he's like, I'm going to take you out each by one just for the sake of doing it. And it hasn't really clicked that well outside of there just being entertaining matches.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I will say that seems why this one hasn't lived up to what it could have been.
Yeah, and the thing is, as well, is even these, I'll just circle back to them 8-man tag matches. WWE do exactly the same in the mid-card, where it's just really lazy booking. It's just throw hash something together, where, let's go back to the Attitude Era. It's probably a good place to go to, and, like, because you had the faction, I mean, let's face it, AEW have factions there. It's kind of like, there's no need for you to just throw these matches together because you have got factions and you've got where you can actually make these matches seem a bit more interesting off the back of it. If you do want to throw a 8-man tag in there or you want to throw a mid-card match in there, it's like, you could say Bryan Danielson, for instance, you could throw somebody with him and then have his cronies versus the Dark Order, and there's a lot of different things that you could do there rather than just going, let's just throw these matches together,
I think if they would have went that route, you're kind of risking copying what they did with the Hangman thing, though, in Omega, because they had Hangman and the Order versus Omega and the Elite, and I think they try really hard not to duplicate things they do. They'll duplicate things they've seen in the past, and sometimes they knock it out of the park. Sometimes it's a dud. But I'm not mad at what they've done with the Bryan Danielson versus Dark Order. I just think it could have been executed a little bit better, and as you say, more reason for it other than just I'm going to.
Do you think as well that AEW are not falling into a trap, but this whole thing is suffering with Bryan? I mean, because let's face it, it's going to come from Bryan Danielson himself, but his insistence on wrestling week in, week out, every single week he's got to wrestle. And do you think that comes from the higher ups like Tony Khan and stuff, or is that Bryan himself, and that's why they're having to, appease him by keeping him in matches week in, week out?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, honestly, because you have you have Brian, whose shtick is that he wants to wrestle. He just the reason he kind of left WWE because he wanted to try something new and he really wanted to push his limits with how much he can do. So, and then again, if you're the booker, you can't really deny. You can't really say, okay, all right, I won't have Brian Danielson wrestle on the card because he he doesn't want to. But it's a win-win situation for the two of them because on one hand
Yeah.
you have Brian who really wants to wrestle, and then you have Tony who really wants to book Brian on the show. But my then question again is to you guys: do you think that it kind of devalues Brian Danielson?
Mm.
Because if Brian Danielson hadn't wrestled until he faced Hangman Adam Page, then there would have been a certain awe and a certain value that would have been attached to the match.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. Okay.
I think that this is an instance where Tony Khan needs to stop being so nice and accommodating to his talent and put his foot down and say, "Look, I know you want to wrestle every week, but right now with the story we're telling, we kind of need you to step back so this is more of a marquee matchup as opposed to just here's Bryan Danielson again." It's kind of
Yeah.
like CM Punk promo week in and week out. It was for the sake of just putting CM Punk out there with a microphone in his hand, and people were getting very bored of it. And whereas I have a hard time believing that people are going to get bored of Bryan Danielson because he's doing some of the best work of his life,
Yeah.
is as I've said since they signed in the people like Punk and Danielson, I think they need to be treated like a Brock Lesnar type where you can have them on the show, you can have them doing things, but having them just wrestle so much kind of takes away from the prestige of the names that they are. And again, I won't blame them too much for this thing they're doing with the Dark Order because again, plans change and they're doing their best with what they got. But they kind of were doing the same thing beforehand too, where they were wrestling every week. So
Yeah. That's it. All right, guys. Well, last but not least, Johnny Gargano. Obviously, his contract expired this week, and he's a bit more of a different scenario than what Kyle O'Reilly is. I believe, there's been multiple reports that WWE offered him contracts. I believe he wanted time off for his baby coming, and that's why he's not signed. And I think we will see him again in WWE, hopefully on the main roster, which would be really nice. Zane, shaking your head, so we'll go straight to you, Zane.
Yeah, definitely not. I think he know he knows something that you all guys are really missing out, right? Because he knows where the true gold lies. And there is like if you're Johnny Gargano, you want to wrestle the best in the world, right? And you want to go to AEW to wrestle the best in the world. And for him, he really wants to wrestle Eddie Kingston. Because who wouldn't? So
For fuck's
when you're done in
you
NXT,
got me on that one, dude. You totally got me. I didn't see this one coming.
yeah. But jokes aside, I really don't think he's staying in AEW. He's done everything in NXT. The main roster is gonna mess him up royally. I don't think there's any place for him on the main roster, and he knows that. And his all of his friends are in AEW. He has a spot safe for him in AEW because he can be an awesome TNT champion. You can even prop him into the world title scene. You can rejuvenate his feud with Adam Cole. There are a shit ton of fresh things you can do with him in AEW compared to WWE main roster. But do you think that Vince would give a 5'8" guy who's less than 250 pounds, a chance in the main event scene? Where do you think Johnny Gargano's really? Yeah, I know, Jimmy, what you're gonna say. So,
Yeah,
somewhat,
Shawn Michaels was never champion,
yeah,
was he?
yeah,
You are
yeah.
not going to know what I'm going to say, Zane. I'm about to surprise you
Go on,
because
Jimmy.
I personally think Johnny Gargano could be a huge boost to the mid card scene on SmackDown because they need it. They need it big time. I think he could be the kind of guy they pushed that the fans got behind, a true baby face, which they don't really have much of those right now, and either. And he could be that guy, booked properly, pushed properly, on the right brand. On Raw, he'd get lost in the shuffle. On SmackDown, he'd do great. With that said, I don't think he needs to go to the main roster. I think he needs to just leave. And I think he needs to go the route of kind of like Bryan Danielson in the sense that he wants to go and he wants to wrestle the best of the world and he wants to prove himself on another scale. And with that, he'll be able to really have more matches than he would if he went to the main roster. He'd be limited to the great matches he could do. They're not going to allow him to go full speed like he likes. They're gonna nerf him down, and that's not something I think he would be okay with.
No.
I think.
Do you see him going to Impact?
I
Because
think
with Impact's, but with the taping schedule and him having a new baby would maybe suit him.
where do they do the tapings at?
I don't have a clue.
I thought they were up like in the up towards his home, like because I know he's a big Cleveland Browns fan up near Ohio, and I think that's I think that's about where they do the tapings, which would be very convenient for him. He could move back home and he could be close to the tapings. I also think Impact would allow him to be that main event guy while also having great matches with great talent. And then he could also do indie circuits because they allow those guys to venture out. And I think it's the best possible scenario for him, in my opinion, based on what I know about Impact. And interesting thing is, literally the day after his contract was up, he had 5 new shirts on sale on Pro Wrestling Tees. So he's clearly been sitting on those, ready to get him out, bring some money in. And he also started his Twitch stream the day after, which is something you could clearly tell he's ready to do and he can't do on the main roster. So he's gone, unfortunately. I miss you, Johnny, but best of luck.
Yeah. And
Thank
just to let you know that Impact is Dallas. It's being taped.
Oh, okay. So that's farther. Never mind. That part doesn't matter then.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Why would anyone in this day and age want to go to Impact?
Because he's just about to have a baby, Zane.
Freedom.
He may not want to go to AEW yet. He might want to wait a little bit of time. He might want to just, and as Jimmy just said, he wants to have these wrestler matches and stuff. With Impact doing their show in block tapings, he could go there for a week, do his tapings, then he's got 3 or 4 weeks with his kid, then back to the tapings again, then another couple of weeks at home. Do you know, it makes sense.
But don't you think his shirts are going to bring in enough revenue so that it lasts him a good while before he's come back after his paternity leave?
Yeah.
Another thing with it is in Impact they have a pretty good working relationship with New Japan. I know travel shut down right now, but if he wants to go to New Japan and have those matches with guys over there, Impact allows that. He can also still do the AEW thing if they open up that back, and again, indie circuits. He's allowed to go work elsewhere and really push the limits of what he can do while also having a nice, cozy job with Impact where he'll be treated as a main event guy. Like, I have no reason to believe he wouldn't with how talented he is. And yeah, it's just, it'd be very convenient for him if he went to Impact. And as we were just mentioning with AEW, like, how many more people can they bring in before people are just completely lost in the shuffle?
Yeah.
Gargano would come in within months. Where's he at?
Yeah. Where Gargano goes to Impact, makes a big name. You know, look at some of the other guys that have got. There's some great matches for him in Impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, there's some good matches there for him.
Who doesn't want to see Gargano versus Alexander?
Yeah.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you have Gargano versus Eddie Kingston, so
he could still do that if he went to Impact.
Yeah. Forbidden Door and all that.
Why would Eddie Kingston stoop to his 10-level solo that he'll show up in Impact?
Eddie Kingston needs to worry about 2.0 right now, bud, because 2.0 rules.
LAX is back.
He needs to go and get a wash, first of all, before anything else.
All you Eddie Kingston haters.
Go and get some of that car money he's been getting paid and buy a nice shirt. Vince will get hold of him one day and polish him off, don't worry.
Yeah, put some respect on his name. He's the best wrestler alive.
I could just imagine Vince McMahon now. Eddie who? Well, put a mask on him. That'll be his first thing, put a mask on him.
Bring him in. Let's have an interview.
Vince McMahon very well knows who Eddie Kingston is, and he's ready to dish out. He's ready to dish out billions to bring in Eddie Kingston.
You take a look at Eddie Kingston and be like, "That's a wrestler."
I know. Right, guys, well, on that point, we'll wrap it up for this week. So, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support that you've given us. We've been going strong 6 months now. We're only getting better and better, and it's down to all you who are watching the podcast, watching the interviews.
Alright.
um,
Everyone's against me.
reading our articles on the website. Shut up, Zane. And liking our Facebook page, liking the YouTube page. So please do like the YouTube page, subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll be back tomorrow with Quiz Buddies. A lot of excuses interviews on the website for you to go and check out, and a lot of content as well. We are pushing our content more and more, doing some more things as well. We've got our end of year show coming up. Jimmy's been running some great polls on YouTube, on Twitter and whatnot. We will also put it on the Facebook channel maybe, and we will get some of your votes in, and we will see you then. But until next time, guys, as always, thanks for the support, and thanks to Zane and Jimmy. It's not the same without both of you guys, so thanks very much for being here again as always, and until next time, we will see you again. Take care. Bye now.
Check out the Raw recaps and the Dynamite recaps every Tuesday and Thursday.